So, John, welcome to the next step. I really appreciate sitting down with you. You bring a unique vision or a unique perspective to our podcast. You're not an amputee yourself, but you work with amputees all the time. Lower limb, my understanding. Yeah, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
So I'm glad you're here. I appreciate it. So listen, we haven't talked for a while, but how was your Canada or your July 4th day, like the celebrations and things?
It was good with getting to be on the lake and go boat riding with brother-in-law and his family, grilling some burgers and doing fireworks, and
Nice.
that went well. It wasn't not a disaster as I hear sometimes can be.
Yeah, yeah, nice, nice. So tubing and stuff like that, I guess, eh? And kids are crazy and the
Oh,
yeah, and then you come back to work today, and you come into work, and it turns out to be a crazy day because your director's house got flooded or something, you said?
yes, that was wild. Yeah, I think as she came back from vacation, found out that it was flooded, and so I imagine that was super stressful with getting the insurance and the restoration crew. So she was thinking that she was going to be coming in the morning, but we were like, no, you just need to take care of that throughout the day. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
That
but
could,
everything worked out smooth.
yeah, that could turn into a disaster, that's for sure. Well, it could be worse. She could be in Texas right now.
Oh man,
Yeah,
yes,
what a mess, eh? Oh boy,
yes,
thinking about those people a lot. I can't even imagine. So listen, again, I want to set expectation on this episode. John is not an amputee himself, but he sees tons and tons of amputees and works with them, and that's because he is a PTA, which is a physical therapist assistant. So why don't you tell us what that really means, John? Like, what's your role, and what do you how do you help clients?
yes. First, Kevin, I wanted to say thank you for having me on as a guest.
Yeah.
But a physical therapist assistant is one that kind of is under the supervision of a physical therapist and helps to implement the evaluation goals that are set for basically all the patients that I treat. Normally getting back to some kind of walking capacity or doing a daily functional task,
Yeah.
and especially for with the lower extremity limb loss, would trying to get back towards, we'll call it LRAD, a least restrictive assisted device,
Hmm.
mainly starting out, from a walker, maybe to a quad cane, which has 4 points on it, or um, to maybe just a straight point cane, or ultimately without any kind of assistive, especially if they're and above the knee. Those are a little bit more of a challenge. But
Are they
basically, like
yeah.
sorry.
Are they the type of clients you see above the knee and above, do you get below the knee, anything lower extremity, right?
Yes, that um, along with where we are an outpatient clinic is we see a lot of things also as well as a neuro, which would be like of a stroke or a TBI,
Right.
orthopedics, shoulders, hip, and knees, and then also as well athletes. They have maybe like an ACL tear or so. But
Right.
for the what I really find great value is for a PTA is especially in the healthcare system is providing great benefit, at a value, but also for this, as far as the goals, kind of taking a puzzle. You have all the puzzle pieces and putting them together to make what you see on the outside of the box of a cover. So that's what I personally really enjoy helping out with the team of that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that sounds really rewarding. And, backing up a little bit, you were talking about all the different devices. And
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that's a little bit challenging too. It's like, a client comes to you and says, geez, I want to walk. I'm adamant about walking, but they're not quite ready. So you've got to like actually mentor them and coach them to, to why they're not ready and why they need a different device for safety and things like that, I would suspect, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, where are you working right now?
Well, I'm with HBRC in Columbus, Georgia, and they're under a great company, Confluent, which have a few um, kind of like clinics all across the country. And they, from what I understand, a lot of them don't necessarily treat amputees, lower extremity, especially on a daily basis. You might have somebody
Right.
that will kind of occasionally come in, but where we are, we have 5 or 6 clinics, and predominantly, other than the VA, we are the only ones that really treat lower extremity. So I've kind of really leaned to that, and that's what has kind of led for the
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah, you know something that I was very surprised when I became an amputee is how many amputees there really are out there. Like
Mm.
I didn't notice this before, John, and I bet I bet your clinic's very, very busy and whatnot. But when you're not an amputee, you kind of you're oblivious to how many people that are actually going through this process.
Oh, exactly. And that's like one of the things that led me to that passion. It's like one of those things you don't see it until you know, until you see it, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Why are you so passionate about this field? What is it that
Well,
really drives you?
well, kind of what I only the little bit that I remember from PTA school was basically what you start out when you have your amputation is that we were taught is to kind of help decrease the hip flexion and to we can kind of wrap the residual limb to help kind of the healing and it'll help with the residual swelling.
Yeah.
But where I was before for about 14 years, I only saw 3 or 4 actual amputees within that 14-year
Wow.
span. You know, working with them, it was kind of like, okay, this is just kind of like not necessarily another client or so try to work with them. But then where I am now, it's 3 to 4 a week. And
Yeah.
taking what kind of little that I remembered and being on that first patient with the extremity was like, okay, I know about as much as what you do, especially if they were a first time getting on their leg. I
Yeah.
knew very little about socks, how you use that, what they need to do to be able to stand up and stuff. So just finding that as a niche, I kind of really led forward to wanting to help
Yeah.
improve
It
patients' functional level.
it's a really unique field, right? Like even the processes.
Yeah.
Like that, they are incredible what they have to know and make adjustments for the people, or have the proper gait and they're making the right steps and their feet are far enough apart and all that. I had no idea there's so much science behind that until I became an amputee. And mine's wonderful. They've made so many adjustments to mine, but now I'm actually getting there and I'm starting to walk a little bit. Hey,
Oh, that's awesome.
at HPRC, do you have to have a referral from a doctor, or can you just go there as an outpatient?
Well, mainly like we have HBRC is in Georgia, and I think it might be the same for Alabama. But for as Georgia, you can come in kind of a direct access, and from what I understand, it can be up to 8 PT visits before you have to necessarily have a physician referral.
Mm.
But it's best kind of practice is to have an informed consent from the doctor because you want to make sure that your insurance would be covered if you go past those 8 visits.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you seeing a lot more people? Like, is there an increase of amputees? Do you feel over the time you've been doing this role?
Um, it kind of maybe fluctuates, and honestly, I get a little bit like of a selfish, and I'm like, oh, we've discharged a couple people, and then I'm like, we're not going to have anybody for a while, and then it's like all of a sudden, bam, here comes somebody. I'm like, yes, somebody totally different get to work with. A lot of times, somebody that's fairly new to the whole learning aspect, which I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But kind of speaking back to kind of what you said, not knowing about amputees, again, for the passion that has led to um, is just I've kind of had our clinic when the Paralympics came on. I was like, let's have it turned on. And I wrote down some of like people that were, like noteworthy, whatever Americans or whatever folks that would be really good at that sport. So we started watching that and that carried over into with the family has really kind of, especially my kids, turned to being more aware of that because there was a show called All Around Champion that has kids as
Okay.
athletes, and they had a whole season that was devoted to kids that had like a TBI or had an upper extremity or a lower extremity,
Right.
and just to see how they had to adjust to those things. And then one kind of final thing was actually last night my child was watching like a cartoon show, and she came up and told me, she said there was a character on there that had prosthetic running legs and like slipped onto like some soap and ended up breaking their prosthetic legs, but all the other characters on there, the friends came together and helped her to figure out how to fix the prosthetic legs. So I was like, that's awesome to have that reach.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens to kids too, right? Do
Mm.
you ever have kids in your clinic?
Um, well, as kids, but not with limb loss. But we did have one actually that was, I think, around like 16 or 18 or so. She got involved in a car accident, and her
Yeah.
left leg got just really tangled up. I think she was able to maintain that one, but her right one. So we had to help her learn how to be able to use that.
Right.
And I hate though on sometimes with insurances does not allow for what I want to have is more visits. I mean, they're cut off, especially for the VA, maybe 8 visits, which is like, how can you help anybody to get
Yeah.
to that point?
Yeah. It's a long road to recover, right? And they need
Mm,
more than eight visits, I would think. I know I did. I'm still visiting them, but we're different up here in Canada with our
mhm.
coverage and things. So we're very lucky that way. Listen, what do you think is key to your success with your patients? Well, how do you approach your patient, and what do you think that you have to offer them to become really successful?
Well, just honestly, kind of being like myself, that I'm pretty much kind of outgoing, so I bring a sense of humor. Hopefully, if they're not having a great day, but that I enjoy being kind of active myself. I think that helps to help that carry over the energy towards them, and just having that passion to be able to be more relatable, um, and kind of what some of that passion has led to being an advocate, which I love how y'all are doing with Limbloss Connection. But being the advocates that I was able to have for April was Limb Loss Awareness Month and Limb Difference,
Right.
and having a local minor league team, the Columbus Cleanstones, which is affiliated with the Braves. I was able to have that kind of orchestrated, and a former patient be standing alongside me and talking to patrons as they came in, but
Wow.
having a firsthand account of him standing up. He's below the knee,
Yeah.
but having him a firsthand account of having this sweat, which I never thought about, because I don't have necessarily deal with that,
Right.
but the sweat that could come in there, and he would have to go into the restroom with a bag full of socks and
Yeah.
wipe his limb down, change it out. So that's just kind of one of those things that it's like, this is what you have to go through. And I never would have thought of that.
It's a real problem. Like on a hot day, my
Mm.
my leg gets so wet that when you take it off, you can actually pour the sweat out of it. Like
Oh,
it's
wow.
literally water in there. And you seem to sweat more because of the liner and things. It's just so tight to your skin. There are products out there that you can get. I can't remember the one. Uh, it's like Sweat Be Gone or something like
Oh,
that. It's a
perfect name.
yeah, it's an Amazon product that you put on, and you put it on pretty frequently, every like 3 hours or something like that. But it really works. It helps a lot. So
Oh,
tell people to look up on, just type something into Amazon, just search for some product
definitely.
for sweat, and it should come up. So John, what does it take for a patient to succeed, in their physical therapy after an amputation?
That's a great question, Kevin. Um, I think just hopefully they would have the determination. I know that's not necessary for everybody, the determination, but especially for outpatient that, more than likely they're coming there because they want to be there or somebody's pushing them to be there. But to really have starting out, especially if you come from the hospital, is an outpatient is a home exercise program. You have to make sure you are relatively strong for the affected leg, and then especially is the opposite leg if you have the other leg, the intact limb.
Yeah.
But having strength again and the stability to be able, and that's what I really focus on as a lot, especially if you want to try to get back to that cane or something like that. To have, it's just amazing how stable you need to be in your hips.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You really have to build that core muscle too,
oh
right?
yes,
And
definitely.
I was actually surprised with that because when I first had my amputation, I only had one leg amputated,
Mm,
and I was exercising at the rehab center, and I kind of felt like some of the exercises were pretty simple and pretty easy to do, and they didn't really challenge me and whatnot. And but they said just wait for it, just wait and you'll start to find out. And once I got up and started walking on the prosthetic, that's when I discovered it. It was like just getting out of a chair takes so much energy in the upper body. I really have to work my upper body. I have to work out every day, to be honest with you.
oh wow, yeah.
And I'm still not there. So, home exercise program, without a doubt. I saw some people in rehab where they would just do the exercise for a couple hours with their PT, and then that
Hmm.
would be it. And they'd wonder why they're not progressing, right? You have to put the work in.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, listen, talk to me about the different causes of limb loss that you've seen. Like, obviously, diabetes is the main reason why people get lower extremities amputated. What are the other reasons?
And yes, and I did not think about it, and we had talked a while back, but yes, of the vascular, with a lot of times that you can get those infections. I've worked with a couple of folks that have had that, but and I don't know why I never really have thought about it, but kind of one of the big ones is the trauma or accidents, like I was saying with that young girl that had that car accident. But we were actually had a kind of like a continuing ed course, and we had a lady that works with Autobach came over and gave a demonstration of their new kind of system. But she also had the prosthetist that we worked next to had a client that I think it was like in his 30s, but he was in an accident because he was helping somebody on the side of the road changing a tire, and then just rainy weather and swerved, and the car came and hit him and tried to save his leg, but he ended up losing that. And I was like, I don't know why I never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because this can happen to anybody at any
Mm,
time in their life, right?
yeah.
That's what I've discovered. Well, going into rehab was like joining a club,
Mm,
almost. It was like a whole community of people that understood where I was coming from, and I understood where they were coming from. And I would say to people, "How'd you lose your leg?" And they, "Oh, vascular. How'd you lose your leg?" "Oh, diabetes." Somebody in a car accident, motorcycle accidents, huge, lots of motorcycle accidents. Um, Trying to think, the one that I really kind of found surprising was actually on the news here in Canada, CTV News. And
mm-hmm.
it was a young couple that went down south for snorkeling. He was a windsurfer here in Canada, and was at a competitive level. A windsurfer,
Mm,
the kites lift them up in the air and they do twirls and all that sort of thing, and like
yeah.
very physical. Anyway, he went down just snorkeling, him and his girlfriend, and a shark attacked him.
Phew.
And the shark came up to the side of his body. He bumped into him. He realized what it was, what had gotten his leg, and he just started to punch it as hard as he could, and that's
Oh,
what saved him. So he got up to shore, and somebody was smart enough to wrap his leg up, but he was bleeding out, and they ended up saving him. John,
oh,
he's completely rehabilitated. He is now back surfing with above the knee
wow.
amputation. It's
Oh
incredible to
man.
watch. It just something else. Nobody believes, like when I say to them, people will say, "How'd you lose your legs?" And I tell them a shark bit me, and no one believes that, right? But this guy actually, it did happen to him. So,
Man,
and I'm not laughing at him; I'm laughing with him. Trust me.
yes, I got to check that out.
Yeah.
That's determination right there to get back to what you want
Oh,
to do.
just incredible. I'll send you the link after our call here. Anybody else, just look on CTV News and the website, and you should be able to find. Just type what I type on YouTube is just surfer attack by shark CTV
Hmm.
News, and that will
Okay.
bring up because there's multiple ones, but this one would
Phew.
interest me a lot because it was Canadian, right? Um,
Yes,
listen.
that's awesome with the above the knee though is amazing.
That's amazing, right? I'm pretty sure it was above the knee, but anyway, we'll take a.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I guess you have to have a lot of empathy for these people too, right? Because they're coming in with it's very emotional to lose a limb, and you're almost like a counselor to them, I would
Mm.
suspect.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes well, yeah, one of the things I need to try to work on is being a little bit better of a listener. But yeah, sometimes if they come in, they can be super great, good to go at the beginning, and then kind of not having their progress going as they hope, which
Yeah,
even though you can be telling them, look, this is your measurement. This is what you're doing. You're able to walk X amount as before you were not able to even do. But I try to coming up with the motto is quality over quantity, that your
yeah.
quantity will increase as your quality improves.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. I know that I would suspect anyway. You have all these different types of ways to measure people and their progress, like how far they can reach when they're standing still. Can they
Mm.
do a circle on their prosthetic with their eyes closed, things like that, right? And you're
Yeah.
measuring them. And I would suspect that, you know, you give them a kind of a rating of where they are, and
Mm.
they're hoping to be a little bit further, and they're probably getting very emotional at that time, going, "How come I'm not progressing very fast?" Right? It
Yes.
must be common. Hey, listen, when a patient comes into your clinic, I know that you examine the residual limb. What are you really looking for there when you're doing that?
Oh yeah, and that's something as well that I kind of had to learn at the beginning of working where I am now. But really looking kind of like a hot spot if they've been wearing it in an extensive amount, especially if they haven't, trying to gradually progress, but to see if they have any redness on there that could develop to be a wound, especially if they're diabetic, that could just go. Um, but looking for that, and because a lot of times they might not be able to check it themselves. Sometimes the people that bring them in, like in the vehicle, or if they're having transportation, they might not even care about looking at the limb, or they might not be able to have their phone to turn it around. So a lot of that, because I actually had a patient not too long ago that had on his intact limb, that he was talking about having pain on his heel. So I was like, well, let's check that out. And he had a small cut on there. He was diabetic, and we didn't see him again for like another 6 months. But he was having to get that treated and taken care of. And I was like, because a lot of times they're going to go see us more than they might see their doctor. That we can kind of be their first line of defense
Right?
for taking care of something. But yeah, with working on making sure to remind them to check on the other leg if they have their intact limb as well.
Yeah, so you probably don't know this about myself. When I lost my left leg, it was from a diabetic ulcer.
Mm.
I'm diabetic, and I lost it below the knee. And I just got up on my prosthetic on my left leg, walking great, no kind of device or anything. And they told me to go and come back for an outpatient. I was an inpatient at that time. They said the following week do outpatient. I came back and worked out Tuesday, and Thursday I worked out, and they looked at my legs, both like the residual limb, and then they looked at my good leg, and they saw a tiny blister caused from sweat, they think, rubbing two toes together. And the nurse said, we've got to watch that and we'll have the doctor check it out on Monday. And by the time Monday or Sunday night came, my whole foot had turned black. Well, not the whole foot,
Oh,
the toes and
wow.
everything. And I came in and they said, well, we can take the toes. I actually said no, take the leg at that point because I tried for 3 years trying to save my left leg, and
Wow.
it was just chop, 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 and I just gave up. And finally, this one I just said take the leg. But that's how
Man.
fast it can happen. So you bring up a good point, John, about having to watch every little red mark, every little scratch, every little dry skin,
Mhm.
all that you really have to protect it and put cream on it and have somebody investigating it. Otherwise, you're going to get a wound and it's going to set you back months and months to heal for sure.
Oh, yes, man.
What's the what do you think the emotional state is when people come to see you? Are they typically really discouraged in the beginning? Do they become optimistic? Do they see some hope? Are you able to get them to that point?
Well, that can kind of be a mix. The majority of those coming in for the beginning are pretty optimistic, um, and ready to go and work on it. And then they might, as I said before, kind of not seeing where they're going that they think to need to be going, that they can kind of get down on themselves or so. Um, but I don't think necessarily that I've really encountered so far of somebody that's just come in and like, oh my gosh, this has happened to me, and what am I going to do now? So I think hope that just my if they do get into that, like I was saying before, is we kind of or another great thing if yes that if they don't feel like they're doing so well, or if they can't do something, another thing that I've started to say is that let's take a can't and turn it into a try, and then maybe a did. And so they're kind of like, oh, and so there's like, look, you tried it. We didn't do it that time. Try it again. And then
Yeah.
so hopefully we get to that did part.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you don't get out of the wheelchair and don't get
Mm,
moving and trying things, you'll always be in the wheelchair.
yes.
That's what somebody told me, and it kind of motivated me. Listen, what does it take to be a PTA? Like that role, is it a course that you have to take? Do you have to have certain characteristic and qualities about yourself?
Well, a physical therapist assistant is an associate's degree, and it's usually is like a 2 year accredited school.
Okay.
But they have a lot of times that where I was, we had, I think, about 25 graduates, and probably about 10 or 15 of them were high school students that came out and they had kind of done almost like volunteer experience at a hospital. So that's what they looking for. But I kind of did in reverse. I actually got a bachelor's in exercise science
Oh,
and
okay.
then became a PTA. So I kind of had that more background, and then that led into.
That's
But I
probably
think definitely
that's probably really
characteristic.
yeah.
What's that?
That's probably really beneficial to have both of those.
Oh yes. But they're looking. Hopefully, people are all the time say, "Well, why should it be an associate? It should be at least like a bachelor's because now you have PTs are becoming their doctorates, and they even had if you were a PT before the doctorate, you would get grandfathered in. So they're
Right.
trying to advance that kind of degree or so.
Yeah. And so why wouldn't you become a PT?
Well, that's a great one, and sometimes I kind of go back and forth about that, but I just enjoy being able to say, okay, this is what the goals are made. I guess, like doing a puzzle. Oh, I want to do this picture. I like it. And then untangle everything and then put it back together. Not that I couldn't do that as the PT, but I just find the value of being able to provide great quality care, but at the value.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Um, do you have any final thoughts about PT and your community and limb loss? Anything you want to like add or talk about?
Well, I wanted to say about with being able to be where I work now is so fantastic because we have a prosthetist is right next door in the same building, and she makes about 75% of the prosthetics for patients they work with.
Oh, that's good.
And I think being able to have a great team, especially for a lower extremity amputee or and above or upper extremity. I know you've spoken about before on your podcast about Sunnybrook, but having a great team can really help a patient to go far forward. But again, the advocacy thing, I was able to be um, with shadowing the prosthetist for about like once a day or once an hour for a day over the last summer for about a couple months. And that was awesome to be kind of behind the scenes and understanding the limitations, insurance limitations again for
Hmm.
prosthetics, because from what I understand, you can only get maybe one every maybe 2 months or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that I was blown away. It's like if somebody is really doing great, then they have to wait a whole long time to get maybe a little bit better of a prosthetic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, here in Canada, you can only get new prosthetics, like a complete new prosthetic every 3 years.
Oh
That
wow,
that's
yeah.
what they're covered, and our government covers 75% of the cost.
Oh, that's good.
So it's really good here in Canada, and we only have to come up with 25%, and the
Yeah.
companies typically will cover that 25%. So
Um,
we pay very little for our prosthetics down up here,
mhm,
which we're really lucky, but we only get them every 3 years. So
mhm,
if they're not working, then well, I mean, a lot of the processes will work with you to make adjustments and things like that without costing you much. But yeah, it's like, and people don't realize the cost of these things.
mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, do you know what the cost of these prosthetics are running?
Well, that's interesting because I just had a patient today, and he was talking about. I think this is his second one. He said, "Oh yeah, this baby, this is you don't know how much it is," and I think he said it was like 60,000.
Yeah,
So I was like,
yeah,
"Wow."
yeah.
But
They can run up to 100,000 or more, right? They have
oh yeah,
computer.
especially if you have above the knee, they have a computer chip that helps to make the knee bend
Yeah.
and all kinds of different things that are come along technology wise.
And what else really surprising to me, John, that maybe you can comment on is the different types of feet that are out there. It's like, how do you shop for that when you just lost your leg and it's like, well, what foot would you like? How do you know? You don't know, right? So you have to put a lot of research into that to figure out and work with your prosthesis to understand which foot is going to work to meet your goals, I would suspect.
Uh, and I definitely about that. You're talking about that the passion and so much. I feel like sometimes comes in a section because I look at and find amazing things. That there was students at Colorado, I think State, that made what they call it the Goldilocks foot, which they 3D print, and it is basically like the character. It can fit basically to any kind of like surface. And I
Wow.
was like, that is amazing that these kids come up with that. And they said it takes like 3 days to print one. So this kid is like in his in his dorm, and he has to have headphones on so he can sleep while it's being printed.
Oh, no. Like honestly, the kids are you compare them every we were smarter than our parents and our kids are smarter than us and it just trickles down, right? Uh,
Ah, yes.
my 19-year-old has passed me by far, in education and knowledge. I'm telling you, like leaps and bounds, and he's just finished his first year of university. It's
Oh,
hilarious. Hey, John, any way we can support you guys better, like as an amputee, as family members, as professionals? How would we support you guys in your community better?
Well, I think it'd be like a great source is the amputee coalition for caregivers to go on that, and the amputees can look on that, and that's what kind of led me towards the advocate aspect, especially with this April. But honestly, just anywhere is to try to lean towards understanding.
Yeah.
And with for the advocacy, I think is to be able to for us to reach out to others that we may be able to walk in a similar mile in their shoes, so we can walk alongside them.
Yeah, that makes sense. The discussion with people, watching them, navigate and collaborating with them probably
Mm-hmm.
a lot of value to your role, I would suspect. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, John, I really appreciate you doing this with us. And I really hope that we can do this again, to be honest with you, and drill into some of these topics that we've covered today. Um, if you're willing to do that.
Oh,
But
definitely.
yeah, we really appreciate it. One thing I'll leave you with is, is there any problem with us, doing a call out for where you work and the company you work for, at the end of this video?
Oh no, that's been great.
Yeah, okay. Because people, will want to contact you. They're looking for a good company to work with to really understand the patient and measure them up and get them the right prosthetic. I talk to people all the time, and so many of them can't find the right company to work for and get the right prosthetic. And they
Mm.
jump around and jump around and jump around. And when you do find that person, it's like finding the mechanic that you love, you never let them go, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully we can get some business for you in
Oh,
your place. Well, listen, I appreciate your time and thanks so much, John.
oh, thank you, Kevin, for having me on. I appreciate it.